When World War I broke out in August 1914, it was decided to change the name of the Russian capital from St. Petersburg to Petrograd. The old name sounded too German for contemporary Russians. The Russians were now the enemy of the Russians, so all forces were now to be employed to ensure her defeat. Most of the city's industries began to work to support the war effort, and many Petrograd buildings, including the large portion of the Winter Palace, were turned into hospitals. Most construction work on the city had completely stopped at that point for monetary and infrastructure reasons. Workers' demonstrations, so the war did not go too well for Russia. The Tsar's government had actually discredited itself, and the political tensions were starting to rise. To make things worse, the food supply of the Russian capital had deteriorated so significantly that towards the end of 1917, which the capital was located in the northwestern edge of the Russian Empire, Petrogard was the supplier of most food for the empire, and the railway networks were not working properly, and the ports of Riga and Sebastopol and many Black Sea fleets and many fleets going into Petrograd was virtually cut off by the German Empire. So the people of Petrograd stepped into the new year with the infuriating long lines in front of food shops. The combination of social unrest and the people's wartime grievances brought about the February Revolution of 1917 and abdicated Nicholas II. At the same time, the revolution of the Tsar, the Tsar was actually in Mogilev at the army headquarters and his family home in Tarsku, Selu, which is now Pushkin, which has always been Pushkin, but that's kind of his family home. The political and economic crisis continued all throughout 1917, and in the fall, the Bolshevik Party led by Vladimir Lenin had captured the political power. On the 25th of October, which is the 7th of November, 1917, the blank shot of the cruiser Aurora gave the workers and the soldiers the signal to storm the Winter Palace, which was then the residence of the democratic but largely ineffective provisional government. Most of the ministers were arrested, and of course we all know what happens. The 73-year-long communist rule had begun. So at the beginning of 1918, the Civil War broke out, and the revolutionary soldiers and the workers of Petrograd became the core of the Red Guard, which was later turned into the Red Army. While the fit men were leaving the city on the fronts of the Civil War, the significant portion of the population migrated to the countryside, where families found it easier to provide for themselves. The population dropped from 2.3 million in 1917 to about 7,223,000 by the end of 1920. Beginning of 1918, the German troops were so close to Petrograd that the Bolshevik government of Vladimir Lenin decided to move the capital to Moscow, which was still far from the front, hence Petrograd was left to just be a regional center. Further changes occurred when many of the street names were altered according to the revolutionary fashion of the day. Place Square was called Usensa Square after the assassination of the Bolshevik politician. Nevsky protest became the protest of October the 25th after the Revolutionary October. A number of revolutionary monuments were erected, but most of them were made by the cheapest materials, and most of them did not last long until your boy Joseph Stalin came into power with his golden and silver and steel structures. But that's just a brief and nothing really happened in Petrograd. I was planning to do Moscow and Petrograd, but Moscow was not really the capital it is today, so I don't know how this video has gotten over 8 minutes. But pretty much the Civil War ends, and it has actually changed to Leningrad, and it's made into a socialist city, but everything's moved to Moscow now. So Moscow is now the city center of all of Russia, and still is today. But that's just a brief overview of the capital of Petrograd, St. Petersburg, Leningrad, and I think it's called St. Petersburg again to this day. So probably like three name changes overall. No, two. Kind of counting two, because the change back does not count, and the original St. Petersburg is pretty self-explanatory. It was there from the beginning. So anyway, I think that's it. More videos to record my voice for, of course, to try and get gameplay and edit. But that's just a brief overview of Leningrad, Petrograd, and St. Petersburg. Hope you all enjoy this home fronty episode. I don't know. Sometimes I want home front to be like people, and then sometimes I want home front to be like cities and stuff. So home front is very weird, especially with the British coming. I'm gonna give you a little spoiler. But the last and the S in last, which is supposed to be C, is going to focus on the Class Destroyer and maybe the Dreadnought, maybe Dreadnoughts. No, Dreadnoughts as a whole should have their own episode because every country has their Dreadnoughts. It'll be a wild time to get Dreadnought footage for each nation, especially since people basically hop in the first 2 seats and you're left with AA guns, but at least you're on the Dreadnought, right? Yeah, the video is going to be edited, so it can't be 10 minutes for sure, probably like 6-7 minutes probably, but I'm going to end it here just in case I might go over 10 minutes with rambling. So hope you learned something, and hope you enjoyed the videos today.